Good morning and welcome to One Sober to Another. I'm Wayne, and today we're going to talk about everything that has to do with your family as an alcoholic and or an addict, depending on what your situation is. Before we do that, if you haven't subscribed yet, take a moment to subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can get notified every time I post a new video. I'm posting videos every Saturday, and if you don't want to miss a thing, go ahead and do that. If you also want to drop a comment, that'd be awesome. I appreciate it and I appreciate your support. Before we move any further, let me take a moment and get a word from our sponsor. Don't have one yet, but maybe it'll happen. Who knows? So, alcoholism is a family disease. It affects everybody around you. Most times, as an alcoholic, I thought I was only hurting myself. And I know that's absolutely false. But while I was drinking, who cared? It was me. I was the only one I was hurting. Not anybody else. Nobody in my family. Bull crap. My family was affected through and through and through. I told you my story. I told you everything that I am. Mostly without, incriminating myself in any way. But it affected everybody, all the way from my little brother to my oldest sister. In my own family, I've toxified almost everything, and it's taken years to rebuild, and I'm still rebuilding today. Is alcohol affecting your family? Take a look inward. If you're drinking and it's out of control, it's affecting somebody other than you. And I'm going to give you a couple examples. My wife, who I affected the most, I met her when I was just a young soldier, and I met her at a pub, nonetheless, a bar, which is ironic because she really didn't like me drinking at all. My drinking got to a point to where I wasn't able to stop or control it. Everything I saw, I had to consume, and everything I made went into getting my next drink. If you can relate to that, I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about. In the beginning, she was okay with it, and she would not only buy me beer, but she would bring it over to the house when we would have parties and everything like that. And it was really cool. We partied together. We enjoyed each other's company. We got excited. We got rowdy. Everything was good. Until 10 years went by, and she about had enough of it. And so she stopped drinking. She stopped drinking altogether, and she realized that it was sucking a lot of the money away, and it was sucking a lot of her time away, and that it basically just wasn't worth her health. I, on the other hand, continued that gravy train, and I drank and I drank and I drank, which wasn't insanely horrible in terms. I mean, yeah, it was bad, and it was definitely out of control. She had no idea at that point that I had already been a train wreck for 15 years. When she decided to stop drinking, me being the alcoholic that I am, I got a little clever, and I started serving her up cocktails every night when she would come home, and I would make them flavorful enough to where that she would enjoy them and that she would be able to um, drink with me, and she'd be my drinking partner. I did this for about 6 months to 8 months before she started catching on to exactly what was happening. I was making her my drinking buddy, so that way she couldn't judge me for my drinking. Times are rough when you're an alcoholic and you have nobody to drink with because you can only do one thing. You have to delete those people who don't want to drink with you. It doesn't matter if they argue with you. It doesn't matter how many times they tell you that it's going to F up your life. It doesn't matter how many things that they say is wrong with it. You're going to drink anyway, regardless. And if someone doesn't fit in, dismissal. With her, it got to a point to where she was emotionally affected by what was going on. We had moved to another country, and I was still drinking. We arrived in this other country, and as a matter of fact, one of the first things I did was go get a 12-pack of Heineken. When I brought it back to the hotel, I started drinking, and she was kind of angry about it. She started yelling at me and telling me that I was a piece of crap from taking her from her family and everything else. I said, you know what? If you don't like it, go back to Germany. It's not my problem. So she was angry, and that went on and on and on. We moved into an apartment, and I still thought that I was the only one affecting myself by drinking. And I would drink every night. I would stop at the Walmart on the way home. I would get a couple cases. I would put one in my car, one in the house, and I would drink it. And then I would bring the other one in so that she would think that it was the same case. Boy, was I stupid, because she knew it was the same case or a different case. It got out of control to the point where there was no money. Um, she went to the grocery store a few times, and she wasn't able to pay for the food. She blamed me for it, and I told her that she was out of her effing mind, and she's the reason that we don't have any money, because she had to come to America with me, and yeah. So that turned into a lot of things. She became isolated. She became depressed. Here I was thinking that she just had issues with not being home, but it was definitely me. She was living with an alcoholic in a foreign country for the first time in her life, and I was taking everything from her emotionally, physically, and financially. She had no stability in her life. I still didn't think that this was my problem. I thought it was her problem. I thought she was depressed because she wasn't home. I didn't find this out until a couple years later, when I had to get her medical bills uh, from the hospital so that we could leave again. And inside of the transcripts and everything else, she had tried to commit suicide. And she tried to commit suicide because she was completely depressed and saturated by me being an alcoholic. That's a hard pill to swallow. It still didn't dawn on me, and I didn't even take it into consideration to stop drinking. So she kept getting affected, and she continued to get affected for another 10 years or so, until I finally had to go get help, because I was either going to die, or I was going to end up in jail, or just in a hospital on a ventilator. Those were really my options. And she was going to leave me alone. She did leave me alone. She left me for a while, for about a year. And those are tough things. And I tell you all these things because I can only relate to you through my own experience and my own recovery. And I hope that some of the message I'm putting out you can take away from. So she was completely affected, and she's still affected today. Even though I'm sober, I've been sober for 4 years. Um, I live in sobriety, and I try to make a daily amends with her. But there's still trust issues. It goes all the way through finances to relationships and everything else, because I broke those along the way. And those are hard things to get back. And you only get those back through action. You don't get it back through words of, I'll never do it again. Tough pill to swallow. My son, on the other hand, I thought he was just fine as well. And I believed that I was doing a good job as a father, and that also was not the case. If you're a father out there and you have a son or a daughter, you have to put them first, regardless of your desires, your wants, or your needs. Well, that's as much as I'll spend on that for now, because we're going to do that in another video. My son started acting out when he was really young. He was frustrated that I was never home, and he was frustrated that when I was home, I was drunk. I was tanked up. I was always tanked up. I mean, I used the excuse that I was an alcoholic, but I was selfish. That's what it really was. I was selfish. But what ended up happening with him is that he would um, destroy things in his room. His mom would try to tell him that everything was okay, that I was going to be home, damn well knowing that I wasn't, because I lied to her about that too, and I drank the money for the plane ride a long time ago that she sent me. Um, so he started like poking holes in his roof with a broom, He started punching his walls, which are concrete, by the way, so he could have hurt himself a lot. Started yelling at his mother, um, and it kind of trickled on into his young adulthood to where at times he's still a little sketchy about believing what I say, which is completely understandable. And with him, I've made a real living amends to where I make my time for him, regardless of what it is we're doing. Sometimes I'm not always big on what he wants to do, but damn it, I'm going to be there. So that's the short version of that. Um, but he truly was and is affected. He still has outbursts at times, like he gets a little angry and hostile. And that's all in part to me because I really damaged his psyche with abandonment issues and everything else that I went through that I already told you about in the previous video. And if you haven't seen it, go ahead and hit the card right above. You'll be able to take a look. Um, Life's hard to speak about. And the fact that I destroyed my family really, really is painful. And I could continue to drink over it. But what good is that going to do anybody? It's not going to do me any good. It's not going to do them any good. I've got 4 years of sobriety. I live in recovery. I live in sobriety. I enjoy my life and I enjoy my family. I don't wish to do any more harm to them. And if you could imagine, the family disease is like throwing a rock into a lake or to a puddle. And all the ripples that ripple out are the effects that you're making. It doesn't even have to be your direct family. It can be relationships. I just recently received some comments. One from Lisa. It says, "Do you even remember our relationship?" Almost literally, I don't. And that's not because I didn't care. It's because I was drunk the whole time. Another one from Frankie. He says, I didn't even know you were having that much trouble. When I was in this other job, I'd gotten a car repossessed, and I kept telling him, my car's in the shop, this is a rental car, and blah, blah, blah. He knew something was up. He just didn't know what. And even my work performance dropped to a point to where he was like, look, you got to tell me what's going on. I said, nothing's going on. And he knew something was up, and he just couldn't pin it. So that affected that in that aspect, as well as me borrowing money from coworkers. So it's not just your immediate family that's affected. It's the whole world around you, really, the environment that you're in, and everyone that you touch is affected by your alcoholism. So it's not just your alcoholism. It's not just your addiction. It affects everyone. With that being said, I am going to go ahead and end this video, and I appreciate you guys being here this morning. Like I said, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you don't miss my next video. I like to keep these short, time enough for you to have a cup of coffee, entertain yourself a little bit, and hopefully take away from what I'm putting out. If you have any comments you want to drop below, let me know. If you want something posted into a video, and also if you have improvement comments, go ahead and drop those as well. I got thick skin. I'll do what I can to make these better, and we're going to just keep on trucking. One sober to another. I'm out.